Hello everyone, welcome to Salesforce Atlas. My name is Darissa. If you're new to the channel, it is really great to see you back in the channel and I hope that you are doing great. Something similar I've done a few weeks ago. It is about getting user's ID in Salesforce and then sending an email specifically to this user, or maybe a group of users who are part of a specific profile in Salesforce. There was a suggestion in the comments I saw, which was very accurate, and I'm sure I mentioned in the video that there can be even better ways of doing things, and someone pointed out that there is a better way, and I completely agree with that. The best way of getting someone's ID, getting a user's ID or getting profile's ID with flows is when you're actually using get function instead of hard coding or copy pasting code. It is an alternative, but that's not the best Salesforce practice, and we're going to fix this in today's episode. Now, as always, I'm in one of my Salesforce Trailhead playgrounds, and I will be showing a very quick example. I have already created a flow in Salesforce in setup, and it doesn't really matter what's the trigger, but in this episode, I want to show you how to get a record, how to use a get function in flows, and how to get IDs, profile IDs, and later how to send emails to all users in that specific profile. I'm going to be using Salesforce administrator's profile, and I only have one user. That's me. I'm the only user in Salesforce administrator's profile. We are going to debug it and see how the flow is actually going, and who would it send the email. I have an account, and as a trigger, I selected a rating. And in this scenario, let's say if a rating changes from anything to cold, let's say it was warm or hot, and all of a sudden account is cold, I want to send an alert to Salesforce administrators, but maybe the best thing would be to notify sales managers or people who are, let's say, account managers, people or users who are taking care of these accounts. Now, this is going to be my trigger. I'm going to open Flow. So I created in flows this email profile users, and it looks something like that. Now I'm going to explain it step by step. I have my triggers right here when the record is updated. Let me actually open it. So my triggers will be, I'm going to start with accounts, account object, and I personally don't want to trigger this flow every time a record or a new account is created and updated, because most of the time I will have an account and later we will add these ratings. Now I have an account, and whenever it is updated, I want to trigger this flow, and I have also unique entry conditions. If a rating field is changed, and if a rating field equals cold. So they made some changes with the rating field, it is true. And it also matches my pick list value or my condition. And so that's the trigger. And I have actions and related records. I have selected this as the optimize the flow for. And then just click done. And now I can actually zoom in. So I want to run it immediately. I want to get Salesforce administrator's profile, and maybe it would be good to open profiles. Now I have a system administrator profile, and each profile, as you already know, each profile will have its unique ID. And if I go back to my flow, now I want to get the records. Actually, as I have already created, I should actually show here, we have elements, we have our own toolbox here, and you can select, drag and drop your elements, whether these are maybe some actions, you want to add any logic or data. And in this case, I'm using this section here, data. So I want to get records. If I go and double click, I have selected object profile. Now profiles in Salesforce have their own object. I condition that name, profile name equals system administrator. And if you go back to profiles, I have profile system administrator, and it clearly says name is system administrator. and I want to use this profile, and all users who are inside this profile, I want to send them an email each time the rating is changed. And first I want to find the right profile, and I'm going to store only the first record because we have one profile with this unique name. Now I'm going to store one record, and I'll just store automatically all fields and then click done. Next step would be as well to get records. I'm getting records of users who are inside this profile. Now if I open it, now the second thing is I'm selecting objects, and now I'm looking at users. I want to find system administrator users in that profile. Now if I have selected user objects and add conditions, now profile ID, I want this profile ID, or this basically profile, to equal the same profile I got from my previous step. So I'm using profile from the previous step. It depends how you name it. In my case, it is get Salesforce administrator profile ID. So I am actually, with this action, I'm getting this ID right here that you can see, and we're not hard coding anything. It may change, but the very good point is that if you work across various orgs, you are in production and you're in sandbox, now IDs will vary, they will be very different. However, API labels most likely will stay the same. Now you can double check this, but if you are moving something from your sandbox to a production org, then the API name, system administrator in my Salesforce sandbox environment, system administrator profile, they have the same name as in my production org, and I can use this thing without any hard coding these IDs because I can make a mistake, and it can change as well. Now if I get profile ID equals, then the profile ID from get Salesforce administrator profile ID, I want to store all records because there can be more than one user. I don't want to store only the first user I find there. There can be 10 users, and I want to store all records. And in this example, I have decided to choose fields. So by default, I have ID field, and then I also want to select their email and their first name, which I will be using later in my email template. I have ID, first name, and you can add more fields. You can just play with this section. Maybe you want to automatically store all fields. Definitely suggest you to have a look at this. And then I added a loop. Now here we have a loop, and in this loop I want to go through every single record and create the collection of these Salesforce administrator users. Let's say I have 10, and let's create a collection of these 10 users, and we'll be storing their data, the data that I selected in the previous step. That would be first name, email address, and ID. And as here says, if you want to use it later in any other element, you just start with typing loop. That's what I usually do, and then it will find you the loop you create in your flow. Then the next step is my email action. I created this email action, and it is a send email core action. And I created a text body, text subject, which you can find as well. It's very easy to create. I used text templates. So whenever you are in your action, let's say you want to create a new body, you go into new resources, then you select text templates, and you give it a API name, so you create a label, and then you can create your body. And I have covered this as well in one of my previous videos. And important thing to look at this side if you are creating a rich text body, or you want to keep it as a plain text, because you will need to toggle one more thing so that the flow knows it's sending out a rich text, and I'll show you that as well in a second. And the same applies to the subject field right here. I created a new resource, and you can see it right here. So these are two text templates, and I kept them very simple and plain just to show you how to quickly get records and send an email. It's very, very simple, just to show you the basics. And if you are using a rich text formatting in your body, then remember to toggle this on. As I'm only using a plain text, it is off for me. And I've used recipient email addresses. I switched it on, and I used find all users from my loop. This right here. Now if I cancel, I have this loop and it's called find all users. Now double click, and how I found it, I started with loop. I only have one loop here, so instantly it is suggesting me the one that I created, and I select on it, and then I can type in email, and I have this email field already ready for me, and that's it, that's ready. Now if I just select done, then this flow, then save it, give it a name, and you can either activate or you can debug it. Now if I debug this flow, then we can check, yes, we can debug. I haven't really changed anything. Then we can check how the flow would work in real life. Now I can't skip the conditions because I want to see how it's actually getting profile ID, how it's going through all users who are in this profile. And I will pick a random account. It's the most recent one. And now I just click run. And you can see debug was complete. Everything was successful. And I have here as well debug details on the right. And I skip the start conditions, so I can just jump to this action here where we are getting records. Now, yes, we're getting system administrator profile IDs, successfully found records. Then we are looking at the profile ID. So let's check if it matches with what we have in here. As you can see, ID starts after 2F. It may add additional 3 letters, and the flow did add additional 3 letters. But if you cut the end off, then you can see that it matches our system administrator's profile ID. So that's correct. And then it will store these values: ID, email, and first name. Successfully found records. It's not saying who it found, but it found users in here, and then it looped and it was looking for users. Actually, here you can see it found this user. And if we go and check view all users in this profile and click on me, then you can see right here you'll find ID, and again that will be after 2F, and this is going to be ID. And if I go back, again it's correct, just it added another additional 3 letters, which is completely normal. And after the loop we have an action: send email, account is called. That was my subject line, account is called. Then we have my text body, that's account name. Account rating has changed to cold. Email addresses, you can see here, and then email address, and then this email subject line, and that's the end of loop. So you can see it successfully found profile, it found users in this profile, and it went through the loop, found all users, sent email action, and finished the flow interview. Well guys, I hope that this video made sense to you. I didn't want to make it too long, so I prepared the flow in advance, and feel free to go back in the video if it was too quick for you. And definitely follow Salesforce best practices, and if you have any suggestions, do let me know. I'm always happy and open to look into them. Thanks a lot guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.